Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call. It's mine.
This isn't working. 22 supervisors are present. Supervisor Stocker is excused.
Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens wishing to speak? Any citizens wishing to speak? Please go up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you will have 5 minutes. That's on. Try that. There you go.
Very good. Thank you. I'm here tonight in support of Jeffrey Gentz's resolution regarding division heads. As an employer, the county should be interested in hiring the best they can get their hands on and keeping them employed, doing an excellent job. It doesn't make any sense to me at all to allow them to have the fear of being discharged, not because they're incompetent at their job, but because of something else wild and crazy that they could lose their job over. We're operating a very high budget county, and our departments are extremely important to have competent people in them. Let's keep the competent people we have and make sure that they aren't eliminated from their jobs just because of a whim of the county supervisor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Preston. I live at 6405 96th Avenue. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about a stay that I had at Kenosha pretrial facility for a non-criminal offense. I was pulled out of my home at 3 o'clock in the morning by Kenosha County Police, again for a non-criminal offense, a small claims case that I went to while I was healing from a traumatic brain injury because I had had a grand mal seizure and broke my back. I let the court know that, and they let me proceed with court even though I was not in my right mind. If I had known that, nobody goes to small claims court, you just get charged the money. I didn't belong in jail for 10 days. I was supposed to just submit in some paperwork that I don't remember because I don't have a memory of being in court. I didn't owe any money. I couldn't even pay my way to get out of jail. I couldn't see a judge because of just how it was written. The judge ordered me to 10 days just because I didn't produce a piece of paper. It's not a crime to be poor. It's not a crime to have a medical condition. But that's what happened to me. During my stay there, though, I had some pretty bad things happen to me. I appreciate Dave. I wish that he was here. I could publicly thank him for helping me. I had to call Dave on Super Bowl Sunday on my 3rd day that I was being held in the pretrial facility because I was being withheld from my life-saving seizure medication. I was being titrated off my medication because the medical staff from NAFCARE was not providing the medication that I needed, even though I was told that I was being provided my medication 3 times a day. When I had an investigation done, I was told that I was refusing my medication. This is something that I had my boyfriend dictate to Dave because Dave and I are were friends outside of court, outside of everything before this happened. Hello, Dave. This is Mike's boyfriend, Angela. She was picked up Friday morning for a bench warrant, is being held downtown. She's asking me to reach out to you, and she's hopeful that you can help. There's a wrong situation, and she does not trust what's going on inside. No one is helping her. The next day, good morning. I just talked to her and they are titrating her off of her seizure medication. She spoke to the nurse. She's supposed to be getting her medication at 7, 4, and 10. When she's asking for her medication, they say that they do not pass medication. They being the COs. I understand that they are a liaison to the nurse. I was told to use a computer. I was not provided with a bracelet that had a number that I could get on the computer to call for help. I was left stranded with not any ability to have any of my medication. I was ignored. The officers called me a bitch for asking for help. In private, while inmates were being moved from one place to another, the same CO, his name is Corey, decided to let that inmate know that I was his enemy. This inmate was in there for beating up another inmate. I was a level 8 non-criminal offense. This woman came in looking for Corey's enemy until she found out that it was me, a non-violent person, literally just willing to play cards, biding my time. That's a very scary situation for somebody who's never been in trouble before. Also, within the first day that I was there, I was given wrong doses of my medication. I was stripped of my clothing because I was told I was suicidal. I was not suicidal. I told the staff that I did not trust the process and I did not want to speak to them anymore because of what was happening to me. I was told because I said that I was untrustworthy then because I refused to speak to the officers. I was then put in a turtle suit, and if you don't know what that is, it's a suicide vest. I was put on admin segregation, but the investigation says that it was suicide watch. I have the documentation from the jail that says otherwise. I looked at the paperwork from NAFCARE and they wrote down the wrong inmate's information. I never refused my medication. I only begged for my medication. It's a very scary place to be if you don't know anything or anyone and you can't trust the people that are supposed to help you. My cell was flooded out. I was forced to walk through toilet water, and I watched someone hang themselves while the officers, 7 of them, stood in the hallway. This is inappropriate, and I ask that our funds be used differently and that the investigation be redone and done well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Any other citizens wishing to speak? Hearing none, citizens' comments are closed. Announcements of the chairperson. We have our Youth and Governance tonight joining us, J.J. Castro from Human Services and Executive Committee, and Claire Koch from the Legislative Committee. Thank you both for attending. Supervisor reports. Supervisor Nez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to recognize that the month of June is Pride Month, where we commemorate the long fight of LGBTQ+ people for civil rights. In particular, I want to acknowledge Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, the trans women activists who were at the helm of the original protest movement in June of 1969 that turned into the Pride celebrations that we know today. If you do anything this Pride Month to support your queer friends and neighbors, I encourage you to learn this history and how to advocate for action that will retain the civil rights that the LGBTQ community have fought so hard to win. Our LGBTQ Kenosha County residents deserve to feel safe and protected in their community, and I hope we all continue that fight to the end. To that end. I also want to take this opportunity to share some community resources and events that we have coming up for this month and just generally throughout the year. The LGBTQ Center of Southeast Wisconsin provides ally trainings that provides, terminology and all sorts of good background, as well as educational and community events. There's also a great program run by Grace Lutheran Church called the Open Hearts Ministry. This is a program where volunteers are paired with LGBTQ youth to accompany them to major life events like graduation ceremonies and recitals in instances where these youth have been disowned by their family or their families do not support them, which is an unfortunately fairly common occurrence. And last but not least, even though Pride Month is in June, the Pride celebration in Kenosha, Kenosha Pride, is on Saturday, July 6th. It's held in the beautiful Harbor Park Celebration Place right on the lake. There's a lot of music, lots of vendors, lots of food, and it's a really great event every year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other supervisor reports? Seeing none, supervisor reports are closed.
County Executive Appointments, John Franco to serve on the Kenosha County Land Information Council.
Refer to Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee.
9, Gregory Bolt to serve as Kenosha County Director, Division of Highways and Highway Commissioner.
Refer to Public Works Facilities Committee.
10, Wyatt Moore to serve as Kenosha County Director of the Division of Parks and Recreation.
Refer to Public Works and Facilities Committee.
Policy Resolution 1 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a policy resolution to repeal 2022 Policy Resolution 2 and adopt a policy regarding Kenosha County division heads. This passed unanimously at committee. Supervisors Nudo, Geertsen, and Vice Chair Gashke were excused.
Supervisor Gens. Motion by Supervisor Gens, second by Supervisor Brookhouse. Supervisor Gens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we entered into this 2 years ago, and I've been waiting for this moment to bring it back up. I'll start at the bottom. I mean, there's a number of things that are wrong with this policy, and very little that anybody could tell me to defend it. So let's start with what I feel is, in my opinion, wrong with it. Okay, let's look at the employees. Even the people with the boots on the ground, the lower ones that are not going to be assistant directors or directors, they're going to still watch what they do and how they do it, because they don't want anything bad to happen to their director, okay, that could be fired for no reason. So it's going to stymie people's, ingenuity and innovation and things like that coming up through the ranks. Plus, they're not going to want to aspire to those positions when they know that they can be fired at a political whim or a disagreement with an executive, no matter who that executive is. This resolution is not meant to pick on our current executive. She happens to be there, but it's for any executive. I just don't feel that anyone should have the power to be hired and fired at will like that at a director position. The department heads, I get, and that's a state statute, but this is not. So then we look at the missed opportunities of the actual position of the director of the divisions. Now, I know for a fact people haven't applied, and we're not getting the best candidates. Because I know people who have, I just talked to a lady on the bike trail walking my dog this morning who recommended to a friend not to even apply for the health director position, okay, because of our political climate. So you can pretend it's not there or it's not an impact, but it is. So employee morale is a big thing. Then I look at the numbers, where I talked to HR, and there was between 20 and 21, there was 3 people who retired, 3 division heads, or leadership positions. 10 since then, 10 compared to 3. And that's not even the ones that didn't apply, who I know a few of those as well. So it's not a good policy. And if you're going to look at, if somebody would want to argue this with me and debate it, it certainly would be interesting. But the last time somebody said, well, the president gets to pick their choices, the governor gets to pick their choices, the CEO of Snap-on gets to pick their choices. And I agree with all that. Why? Because those are political. I mean, the president, Democrat, Republican, should have the ability to surround himself or herself with those people who are going to follow the agenda that they set forward. Same thing with the governor. Same thing with the CEO of a company. They just get put in. They're going to want their people that are going to move in the direction that they want to move the company. Understand that, totally. This is nonpartisan, okay? I don't want to be in fear for my job because we don't agree politically or because you may not like me, and that shouldn't be. And it is out there. And you could give me well, the current executive hasn't done it. That doesn't matter. The threat is still out there. So, again, I can see nothing, and I've asked multiple people to give me some type of defense for this, and they're not. And you know, the rest of the state doing it, or Racine doing it, or anybody else doing it, that doesn't hold water for me. If somebody's not doing something that's right, why would I want to follow that? I would rather be a leader than a follower. So to me, I just think that you should not, the department heads I get, but below that, there should be just cause. And you know what? There's proper way to do that. If you're not doing your job or you have an issue, you could go through the proper process and you can be fired. So I just think this policy needs to be put back the way it was, and those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Brown.
Thank you. I am going to support this, but I'm sort of doing it with my nose plugged, because having looked into it, there's a lot that needs to be fixed on the organizational chart. I've had conversations with people in this room that the departments, we talked about this at our orientation, the department heads, there are only 2 of them. Those are the bigger divisions, bigger entities that people didn't understand. The divisions are underneath that. I think there needs to be a lot of clarity going into this, and I spoke with Supervisor Gens repeatedly on this, and one of my concerns, and I had asked him to change the language, the county exec has direct reports who are division heads, division directors, and the department directors serve at the pleasure. That's in the state statute. We don't have any authority to change that. My issue with that is there are people who are division directors serving directly underneath the county exec, and they're going to get the same benefits as the people who don't serve directly under. And so Supervisor Gens mentioned that the president is political and, you know, snap-on is political. The county exec is political. The county exec is required to right? No? Anyway, irrelevant. The fact is, every person wants a cabinet around them. Every person wants people that they can count on and who are going to support them, and the county exec has that in those department heads. And that's why I'm going to support this, but I think we really need to spend some time looking at the organizational chart to make sure that those department heads are actually serving at the pleasure, and division heads have the protections.
Thank you, Supervisor Brown. Supervisor Meadows.
Thank you very much. I do not feel that we should repeal this resolution for the sole idea that 75% of all American employed adults are at-will employees. That is the norm for the private sector. That's what most people in Kenosha, that's how they are employed. They are employed at will. We don't need to be building in extra protections for certain favorite people within our government. They need to have the same protections that the rest of Kenoshans have, so we should not repeal this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Nordigan.
Thank you, Chair. I am not going to support this resolution. I believe Supervisor Gens is just crying fire where there is no fire. I can't think of any executive, current or past, that would get rid of a division head that's doing a superb job, a great job, an excellent job, or even just a good job, because they came in wearing a shirt they didn't like or said something about a political party that they didn't agree with. I don't think we have county executives that are petty. And I believe that's what Supervisor Gens is concerned with, and I believe it's unfounded concern. We are a right-to-work state, as Supervisor Meadows had brought up. We all work that way, basically. There's no reason to change this. It's not been harmful. He brings up the phantom people who he's talked with that wouldn't be here and those people that wouldn't be here. I'm not going to say names, but that would have been probably something important to have brought up, I think, if it was that much of an issue. I believe this is a non-issue, and I will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Kirby.
Thank you. I'm going to be supporting Supervisor Gens's proposal. I think one very relevant thing to bring up is Wyatt, who came up on our agenda tonight. He has been filling in for 3 people. The division head above him left. The 2 people that worked alongside him left. That division head position was open for over 130 days at the time he was appointed. Doing quick math, probably about 145 days now. I know for a fact that 2 people were interviewed for that position and offered the position, and they both turned it down. And that's incredibly concerning, because this should be a place where people want to work. And if we have 2 highly qualified candidates getting through the interview process and then saying, no, I'd rather work somewhere else, that's definitely a problem for Kenosha County. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Oh. Supervisor Noodle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a comment on this here. What's being offered tonight in this resolution is basically to revert what was changed about 2 years ago. At that time, I didn't feel confident with what we had, and I supported the changes. Now, after we tried for this couple of years, I believe that we went from bad to worse. Therefore, even though I don't believe that this is going to solve the problem, I will be supporting this resolution tonight and keep working, trying to find a better solution, including also maybe to look in the transitioning Kenosha County from a county executive to a county administrator. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Nudo. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a few considerations on this matter. For the past number of years that I've been on this county board, which approximates 20, we've had the division heads not subject to the whims or the discretion of the county executive. And I don't recall any specific cases where that was a negative. I think that the county executive having discretion over directors, department heads is totally within the office of the county executive, and that should be maintained. We don't have a choice, that's the way it is. But I would say the same thing to our current county executive, which I have, and I'd say the same thing to our past county executive, and I'd say the same thing to the future county executive. That is, how much power do you want to cede to the executive branch? How much power do you want to invest in one person? If you believe in the concentration of power is a good thing, then perhaps you would vote against this proposal. If you believe the concentration of power is not desirable, then you would support this proposal. Those are my observations at this point. I'll leave you with this one thought. Well, 2 actually. I'm a politician. I can't have just one thought. I have to have 2 thoughts, right? In a tight labor market, when we compete with the U-Lines, we compete with the Amazons for the best and the brightest. If that person coming in at administration level has some degree of capability, background, education, practical experience, we're competing with them for those quality positions. If there is the idea that if they don't agree with the county executive, if there's a falling out, if there's some type of whatever, dispute, they could be gone at will. You bet your bottom dollar, those quality people are going to say, why would I do that? Why wouldn't I go to a place where I don't necessarily have to be subject to that type of treatment? The last thought I'll leave you with is this. Look at larger municipalities and communities. I lived in Chicago for a number of years going to professional school, and you talk about political patronage. You talk about who got the cake jobs, who was on city services, this type of thing. It was more than evident. When you have these types of situations where political power is concentrated and people make decisions about other people's livelihoods, how they advance and so forth, you're basically setting yourself up to be, at least potentially, in that type of a model. Do we want to model ourselves after Chicago, after Milwaukee, where patronage is rife? I'm not saying that would happen. My question to you, to everyone in this room, is don't you open the door for that when you concentrate power? That's my comment, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Grady. Supervisor Thomas.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. It's interesting how the word whim gets just thrown around like that's what it would be. I think if the county as a whole elects a county exec, then they're asking that county exec to use her best or his best discretion, decision-making, and if they have a well-thought-out plan on how they want to administer the county, and they, after doing their due diligence with the key people, if they don't feel that someone is in line or can execute their plan, then they should have the ability to make another decision and hire someone that will fulfill and follow the course that they would set forth. And I don't think anything is ever done at a whim. Maybe making a resolution is done on a whim on occasion, but I don't think someone is going to lose their job on a whim. And if we're having difficulties filling, we'll say, higher level positions on the county, it probably has nothing to do with who they would work for. It probably has more to do with maybe the cost of living in Kenosha County, their willingness to work here, is the job attractive to them? How many people are there really actually in an employment pool that are looking for, we'll use the example who's given, as a parks director? It's probably a pretty small pool of people that have that experience looking for that job, just like so many other jobs at a high level county division or department head. I think taking away the ability of a county executive to fulfill what their stated mission was to the constituents within the county, that would handcuff the county because they hired somebody, they elected somebody to follow through on what they said. And if they don't have that ability, then we are disregarding and diminishing the vote in electing that person. So if we want to respect the constituents of our county and their election of the county executive, then we need to allow to this power to remain in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Thomas. Supervisor Franco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 years ago, when this policy was drafted and passed, I remember mentioning on the floor that if this passes, let's take a look at this in a year or two and see how many people, division heads, have either left or, well, let's just say left. And according to Supervisor Gentz, there have been at least 10. Well, Supervisor Gentz said 10. I know there have been a lot. I didn't tally them up. But let's put it this way. There have been more than as long as I've been on this board, which is, I'm starting my 5th term. I'm not surprised. Now, on the other hand, I don't adhere to a straw man argument that's saying, I know for a fact that all 5, 10, however many left because of, their lives were made miserable or Supervisor or Executive Kirkman fired them for some petty reason. I'm not in a position to say one way or the other. I don't think any of us are. But I do want to point out that it is a bit suspicious that that many people have shifted, have changed their jobs or left for one reason or another. One of the downsides, I think, of this particular policy is that it's, and I've talked to people about this, it's not that, well, let's put it this way. The problem is, if you know that you could be fired at will, you're less likely to speak up, especially if you're a division head, when you have an issue with a policy program that the executive in particular wants to pursue. You're not going to say anything. If you had to be fired for just cause, you would be much better positioned to challenge or disagree with the county executive. Now, is this a good thing? I mean, isn't this a debate? Is this a good thing that, as was pointed out, that this much power is put in the hands of one person? I'm not sure it is. I really don't. And are we really getting the best people as a result? It was also pointed out that a lot of people have not, according to some people who've mentioned, have not applied for certain positions because they don't want to be in a position where they are, in other words, nothing more than a political appointee, like the department heads. I'm not even sure that's a good situation to be in. I mean, are we looking for the best people, or are we looking for the right people that are going to follow our political program? And as was mentioned, this is not a political position. Of course, all of us know, none of us are naive. We all know our political views. We all know where we stand. And no one's saying naively that, you know, politics has nothing to do with what we do. We all know it does. But it shouldn't. And there's a difference. Why do we cater to the voices that say we need to put more power into the hands of one person? Frankly, I don't think it's a good idea, and I think it's problematic, and we're seeing the fruits of it 2 years later. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Gearston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was in the room when this policy changed in '96. And I was there with the county executive, and there was County Board Supervisor Terry Rose was there, and there was a couple administrators there. And I remember Supervisor Rose at the time was, he was advocating that we stay at will. There was pushback from the administration on that. The reasons that we discussed for keeping the at-will was it reduced liability. So if we had a non-performing employee, we were able to work through the process with less liability to the taxpayers. The other reason is that it moved, by eliminating the at-will, it moved more authority from the county board to the county executive. Now, I served both at will. The thing I want to say is I've got almost 50 years of professional experience. I've got 40 years connection to the county. I audited the county, worked at the county for almost 34 years. Now I've been a county board supervisor for 2 years, so I've got lots of experience with the county. One question is, and I asked this question to Corp Counsel, I haven't gotten an answer back yet, but when we have the appoint confirm, and this policy seems to keep the appoint confirm in even for the division heads, must that appoint confirm be redone with every new term of a county executive? So therein lies the transfer from the county board, the transfer of power from the county board to the to the administration. And that is what Supervisor Rose was concerned about, so they compromised. The one thing that was happening is we had union contracts at the time, and everyone that was in a non-rep pay plan was at will. And we were still working our way through the new county executive form of government. It had just been created in 1982. I came on board in 1985. So this was still 1996 with, actually it was County Executive Collins at the time. So there were good reasons for there being pushback against going to from at will to for cause. One was liability, the other one was transfer of authority from the county board to county executive, which contradicts one of the arguments I heard. This would, if we keep the policy and don't approve the policy submitted by the county board supervisor from District 3, we would keep that authority. We would have taken back that authority and not sending it back to the administration, because we still have the appoint confirm power there. So, but the one thing that concerns me the most, and I've got 50 years of experience. A lot of people know that I vet the heck out of this stuff. I've got, I stopped when I was 100% sure that this was bad policy for my constituents from District 15. This is bad policy for the people I represent, and so I won't be supporting it. But it's preposterous to say that by putting in at will or putting in at for cause is going to cause professionals to compromise themselves. That didn't happen when I was here for 33 years. We spoke truth to power. We gave our professional opinions, and I have professional credentials. I'm subject to ethics code. The county has an ethics code. There's laws. People went to jail because they didn't give their best professional opinion. There's a company called Enron where the CPA firm that didn't follow the rules and let themselves get compromised, the company fell apart. Again, actually it's a little insulting that we're suggesting that the professionals here will compromise their professional integrity. That did not happen. Now, what you're getting from me is the tip of the iceberg. Again, I could give you 50 years of experience and dozens of other reasons why at will is the best. That's how I wanted to serve. I did not want to report to HR bureaucracy. I wanted to report to the board of directors and the chief executive officer. As a professional, that's what I wanted. When I was onboarded here, there was endless rules. That didn't matter to me. I wanted to work here. I liked working here. They had residency rules. When I got married, I had to take my honeymoon leave without pay because I didn't have vacation. I didn't get health insurance. None of that mattered, and this stuff doesn't matter if you're for the professionals. And most of the professionals are still here. This at-will thing is, I heard the word straw man. This is a straw man. Our professionals here will give their professional opinion. They have integrity. They're not going to engage in this culture of sycophancy that I'm hearing suggested. Now, again, I'm giving you the tip of the iceberg. This policy that we have before us tonight is bad policy. I recommend you vote it down. But I'll yield at this point. I could go on forever, but I will yield.
Thank you, Supervisor Kirsten. Supervisor Carroll.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I've been hearing all the comments for and against this, and all I really can talk about is my experience. And I've been an at-will employee my entire life, and I've done a good job as a professional engineer and as a professional within our company. I can tell you within the last 4 to 5 to 6 years that professional level employees at which we're looking for director positions for are very highly sought after. I probably get offers once or twice a week to go to work for other companies, headhunters calling me. So just by saying, hey, the reason why people have left is because of this policy that we've enacted in the last couple of years, I think is a false statement. And the opportunities out there in the private industry have far exceeded the opportunities within the public government industry or that we were working in, because as a director or division level, there's only so much that you can do. There's regulations, your salary is capped, there's not, large bonuses or incentives, there's good benefits, but they're not as good as they used to be. So I think there's a lot of headwind for people coming into a government sector from a professional side of life. And, so I think that is probably a key element of why we're seeing struggling trying to find these people. And the other thing is there's been a retirement rate of people at a tremendous rate, and there just hasn't been the backfill of other people. We've got open positions at the company that I work for, and we've been searching for mid-level to upper-level managers, constant searches over the last 4 to 5 years, and just haven't been able to fill those positions. So it's a very competitive marketplace when it comes to that type of position. So for who those people that we find from on occasion, it's a tough thing to fill those positions. I think at will is fine, especially if you have a director position answering directly to the executive. I think as a person that's a manager, I would want to make sure that I have the ability to hire people, but then not have the ability to let them go for certain reasons that might not be in line with what you're trying to accomplish. You're trying to accomplish certain goals. And so to me, I think it's very restrictive when it comes to that point, when you're working with people trying to accomplish a goal. So that's why I think the other thing is that it takes a while to hire the right people. And if people come on board and they get offered positions and they don't take them, it's because they're negotiating with other people on the professional industry. So I have no problem with the policy change, and I don't think it has anything to do with what's happened within our departments in the past few years here. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Carroll. Supervisor Nordigan.
Thank you, Chair Uhas. The two employees that left that were spoken about earlier, I was chairman of Public Works at the time, and they left not because it was at will. They left because the money wasn't as good as they could get somewhere else. And we know we're restricted on how much money we can spend on those positions. So, and to back up what Supervisor Carroll had talked about, it's highly competitive out there, and it has nothing to do with at will. Thank you.
Supervisor Netz, did you want to speak? No, okay. Supervisor Gens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To paint everything with a brush, like Supervisor Nordigan just said, I can't follow that, and I'm sorry if Supervisor Gearston is insulted by this, but I still think it is a power situation. And somebody brought up, well, we want to have the ability to change and have people work our plan. Well, then you're going to have the turnover of every 4 years that could happen if they're not going to toe the line that you want them to toe. And as Supervisor Gearston pointed out, and he was quite correct, a lot of our people have been here for a long time, and they've built those roots and that all that rapport, and what they do is very professional, and we want to keep that. And I just think that moving the power to one person in this case was a mistake. I don't quite the liability thing, but this I'm not hearing anything that says, plan change every 4 years. Where's the stability? Is the exec having power rather than having the employees a little nervous about it? Is that a better situation? You can't tell me the perception isn't there. You could sit here and argue against me, but you don't know what the perception is on the employees and the division heads. And if you want to say I'm not being forthright, she brought up 2 people, another supervisor brought up 2 people, I know 2 people personally, so that's 6 right there, and I haven't even started looking. So, you could tell me that everybody does it, and this is the way to do it, and, there's no merit to what you're saying. Well, I strongly disagree. I think we gave the power to any exec, and I just don't think that it's needed. You could go through the situation. If they're not, doing the proper job, you can move them out. That's just the way it should be. So that's all I have. And that's all I have. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gentz. I'm going to clear the board real quick. And then if anyone else would like to speak on this. Supervisor Gearston.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. We're not giving the power to one person, we're giving the power to the people of Kenosha. One of the things I did when I was here was we created a fund called WMIC, so and there's lots of other things that I did to try to work to mitigate liability. By having this provision, it protects our residents from having to pay legal costs and other costs when we have a non-performing employee. What happens if we reverse this policy? An employee can go to a hearing examiner. If they're unsatisfied with the results of the hearing examiner, they can appeal the case to the Finance and Administration Committee. If they're what we could end up happening is an employee that HR recommended for dismissal being reinstated by a committee, and then an employee that was recommended for termination in an important position that may be a critical position that was recommended for termination, coming back into the workforce, performing that critical position, working with leadership that attempted to terminate them. So I could go on and on about the dysfunctionality. I remember many times where we went through that hearing process that HR was tearing their hair out, so was Corp Counsel. I remember dysfunctionality, seeing the Finance Administration Committee reverse recommendations made by the administration. So this isn't about power of one individual, it's about empowering our residents. I remember one case, and this was decades ago, where the employee was a non-rep at-will employee, or they were not at will, we had just changed, so they were not at will. It cost the county decades ago over $100,000, and most of that money went to the lawyers. So we all end up just paying lawyers when we create more liability and we drag these things through the courts. So there's endless reasons why at-will is better. Most of the professionals, again, would prefer to report to the board of directors. I'm going to repeat this. It is insulting that it's suggested that the professionals here will compromise themselves and compromise their professional integrity because of a provision like this. That didn't happen while I was here, and it will not happen under the current at-will policy. And with that, I yield.
Thank you, Supervisor Gearston. Supervisor Kirby.
Thank you. So I wanted to make a couple of comments. As Supervisor Norrigan said, I don't know why the two people left in the Parks Department. I do know that those positions remain open, and that's what I find concerning. And as Supervisor Carroll said, we are in a highly competitive job market. We can't offer the same pay that Uline can offer. We can't offer the same pay that Microsoft can offer. What we can offer is a job that has some sort of security where they're free from the whims of leadership at any time. And that does not mean that leadership is going to fire them on a whim. It doesn't say anything bad about leadership at all. It just means they know that regardless of who leadership is, their perception is that their job is safe as long as they are doing their job. Thank you.
Thank you. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if we're covering any new ground at this point, so I would make a motion to end debate. That is to call the question.
Second.
Okay, moving on to policy resolution number 1. Do we want a roll call, or roll call has been requested? So if you're in favor of the policy, you will vote yes. If you're against it, you will vote no.
Policy Resolution 1 passes, 13 yes, 9 no. Resolution 12 from the Public Works and Facilities Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Roger Johnson to serve on the Kenosha County Traffic Safety Commission. This passed unanimously at committee. Supervisors Decker, Franco, and Meadows excused.
Supervisor Grady.
Move the resolution.
Moved by Supervisor Grady, seconded by Supervisor Belsky. Supervisor Grady.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Roger Johnston has been well-known in Kenosha County for quite a few years. This position has come up, and I think, as we're all aware, we have to have a certain number of people be able to represent the community to fill this position. So it passed our committee, and I would encourage your approval this evening. Thank you.
Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Communications 20 from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the intergovernmental agreement to assist the Milwaukee Police Department during the Republican National Convention.
Refer to Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee.
21, communication from Public Works Facilities Committee, a resolution to approve an MOU agreement between the Village of Pleasant Prairie, Quick Trip, and Kenosha County.
Refer to Public Works and Facilities and the Finance Administration Committees.
22, communication from Public Works Facilities Committee, a request for approval of plat and relocation order for County Trunk Highway WG Bridge Project and right-of-way acquisition.
Refer to Public Works Facilities Committee.
23, communication from Public Works and Facilities Committee, a resolution to amend a lease agreement between Kenosha County and the City of Kenosha for installation of a communication tower to allow for the installation of an emergency siren within the existing easement.
Refer to Public Works Facilities Committee.
Claims 5, a minor child, KG, personal injury.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
6, Robert Gardula, property damage.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
7, Joe Wasalas, property damage.
Refer to Corporation Counsel.
Approval of the May 21st, 2024 minutes by Supervisor Gama.
Supervisor Gama.
Thank you. I move to approve the May 21, 2024 County Board meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Gama, second by Supervisor Gens. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Motion by Supervisor Decker, second by Supervisor Morrissey. We are adjourned. Have a good evening. Oh.